And good morning. Welcome to another episode of Money Matters. We are officially live only on onedealaway.com where we broadcast live every morning at 7 a.m. only on onedealaway.com. My name is Nev and I am beyond excited to be here today with you. Now, yesterday we kind of finished a little bit with owing you a few things about what's going on, what else is going on in the world of cryptocurrencies, and that is what we're going to uncover today. So we're going to cover some additional news that we simply ran out of time yesterday when it came to covering what's going on in this amazing and brand new market of sort of what's going on, what can we expect, where does this whole thing go, how do we manage our investments, how do we deal with what's happening in the world. And so we're going to be covering additional stuff when it comes to cryptocurrencies today. And if we have a little bit of time, we might look into the market and kind of what ended up happening. How did we finish? So let's do this. And good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful Sunday. I can't believe it's Sunday already, y'all. Clearly, time flies when you are having a good time, as they say. So, we were having a lot of good time, and half a year is already done and over with. And it has definitely been one of the most interesting years, probably on the record for so many different things. The coronavirus is definitely not helping when it comes to making things not so interesting. And I think it's definitely been something for everybody around the world experiencing this very unique, very weird black swan event that has transformed everybody's lives, has transformed how we work, how we invest, how we buy, how we spend, how we earn, and a host of other things. And, it's one of those things that is just, it's been scary, it's been interesting, and hopefully everybody has been spending a bit of time learning. And if you haven't been, welcome to Money Matters, where hopefully you're going to spend a little bit of time learning about different things that exist within markets when it comes to protecting our wealth, potentially growing our wealth, preserving it, and really improving kind of how we do stuff. Excuse me. And, today I really want to focus back on what's been going on with the cryptocurrencies, because when we take a look at all the different markets, we definitely see that there are some different components that are happening. We watch over from stocks and bonds, we take a look into the economy and what's going on with businesses. We do understand that the GDP of the world is going down, it's slowing down, things are not necessarily reopening that everybody was hoping for. And, we are getting the news that the stock market has definitely been sort of on the down. And, as a promise, I was like, well, if we have time. But I'm like, you know what? We'll make time because I think it's important. And you can see that the Investor Business Daily is talking about that even the futures is sort of hitting the brake because the virus, even though we thought it was gone, it seems to be kind of coming back with the vengeance all over the place. We're seeing places like Arizona, Texas, Florida, Alabama, even Alaska getting hit yet again, and infections are starting to skyrocket. We're seeing places like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, basically saying, if you're coming from these hotspots, we want you to quarantine if you come to our area. We're seeing that many places are not necessarily reopening quite yet. I just had a live AMA, Ask Me Anything, Friday afternoon, and had some folks over from California, and I'm still hearing that they're not necessarily reopening. Here in Rhode Island, where I am currently, and I'm broadcasting live out of, we are very much open-ish. I mean, you can go to the store and you can go to the barber, which, you can probably see from my haircut that happened, maybe a week ago or so. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and I'm hearing that California perhaps is not quite there yet. We got news that Texas was sort of reopening. Now they're sort of pausing that stuff, and we are seeing that markets are starting to slowly reflect that. When they buy. When people buy into the stock market, they're buying on the sort of promise of the future, not necessarily the reality of today. But now we're seeing the stuff. You can see it right here. That the Dow Jones futures will not reopen for trading until 6 p.m. on Sunday. So we have a few hours before that happens, along with S&P 500 and Nasdaq, and with regular trading showing more volatility. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures have also made bigger moves in recent days. Remember that overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere does not necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. And, we talk about that all the time. But basically, what they're saying is that, everything is kind of sort of going up and down. We're seeing volatility pick up, and definitely a lot of unprecedented moments happening in the traditional markets, right? Now we're going to switch over to the crypto markets, and you can see it right here from CoinMarketCap that we have a place like, that it's sort of kind of down, but sort of sideways. The only green thing on the screen is Tether, which is basically supposed to keep a 1-to-1 ratio with US dollar. So, if that is the truth, then that would indicate right here to me that US dollar has gone up 0.19%. So that's kind of the way that I see this when I look at it. But you will see that Bitcoin, last time we checked, it was about 91.50 or so. Now we're down almost $100, not quite, but sort of you can see it's a downward action. Same thing with Ethereum. XRP is down to just short of 18 cents. Bitcoin Cash, I mean, everything is down in the top 10, as you can see. The only thing that when we get to the top 10, see, Crypto.com moved from 11 to 10th place. So Cardano and Crypto.com coin CRO seem to be kind of going back and forth a little bit over the last few weeks. And we can see that CRO has retaken the 10th position. EOS, it's very interesting. EOS, I want to say, used to be in the top 5 to 7. It has dropped down to the 9th position. And out of all of this stuff, you can see that the CRO has actually picked up a bit of steam, almost 6%. Now, let's take a look at the top winners. Celsius, definitely top winner with 10.6%. Then we have Crypto.com. Ave, Siacoin, Verge, Zilliqa, Unsunset LEO. I don't know what that is. I'll be very honest. DAI, it's interesting that DAI is here as sort of the winner because it's another stable coin. But unlike Tether, that is centralized and ability to somebody to print it, it runs on the algorithm and it comes out of Maker, as you may know this. So as you can see, that vast majority of what we're seeing here as the sort of top winners are these altcoins, and quite a few of them are decentralized finance coins. Now, top losers are Flexicoin, negative almost 21%, Swissborg down 18.5%, ouch. BitShares, iOS, Bitcoin SV, Ren, Horizon, Chiliz, Komodo, ZB token. Very interesting to kind of see that stuff. Swissborg has a pretty cool product. It's coming out of Europe, out of Switzerland, and it's kind of an interesting piece to take a look into this stuff. Now, most of these rents, same thing. It's a good product process. Hold on. Gotta close the window, y'all. Uh, because we've reopened, that means that the trucks are starting to make deliveries, and I am on a corner of, relatively speaking, busyish street, which means that I get to see when motion starts and stops, and I get to hear it too. And I don't want you to have to hear it and listen to it. So, anyways, you will see that the compound also has gone down 5%, and these are some of very interesting tokens, the altcoins. One of the things to pay attention with some of these smaller markets is that because their market cap is much smaller, that means that potentially the liquidity pools from these markets are not as big as you would expect somewhere in the world of Ethereum or Bitcoin, for that example. And of course, even the crypto market space is so tiny when you compare it to real estate, to stocks and bonds, to traditional finance, derivatives, and so on. So, definitely something to pay attention. If you decide to go into some of these smaller markets, smaller coins, then you definitely want to, uh, pay attention to what you're putting in and understand that it is going to be a very, very, very speculative game, and you want to protect yourself in that regard and play accordingly should you decide to do it. Okay. Now, here is the news that I wanted to share with you yesterday that we just didn't have a chance, and that's coming out of Crypt Potato. I love that name, by the way. I do love it a lot. And, the 2015 historic support line, will it save Bitcoin from a crash to $7,000 to $8,000? Now, a few days ago, the price of Bitcoin touched 9,800, followed by another failure to break up critical descending trend line. The primary cryptocurrency had been correlating with the plunging global markets, and now it's trading slightly above 9,000. As we saw just a moment ago. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I looked at the wrong thing. You can see that it's trading right. It's $9,091 and something cents. So that makes sense, right? Now they're looking at. We looked at some of these charts yesterday, and I talked to you about kind of how these charts work and why this particular chart, when it comes to Bitcoin, is super important. And I've mentioned to you that I used charts very similar to this one to explain how some of these things work in my Crypto 101 course, which, by the way, is still free only on onedealaway.com. So if you're interested, make sure you go visit onedealaway.com. Go to on demand. You want to go to the on demand courses. You want to look for Crypto 101 course and simply click a button, and it's yours, and it's yours for forever. It's not going to be free for forever, but it is free right now. So if you want to learn more about how, sorry about that, how the markets actually work and how you can invest in cryptocurrencies, to talk about the evaluations and how it all works and understand blockchain a bit more, and understand kind of some basics about saving, investing, trading, and so on. I highly encourage you to go in and check out this course. After all, it is absolutely free, and all I want for you is to be able to learn and educate, because I do believe that the bull market within crypto, within Bitcoin, of course, as well, is coming, is here. And we might not necessarily see it right this moment, but that just means that we have a greater opportunity to jump into this piece. Because when you jump in before the crowd and the crowd comes in after you, they sort of lift the tide, lift all the boats, including yours. So you definitely want to be there early. Okay. So you want to pay attention. You want to keep on up with it, which is why you're here on Money Matters Live. And I do want to welcome everybody who is on One Deal Away Live, watching this right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the like button, do subscribe, and do hit the bell so you get notified every day when new replay of the show is being posted. Now, let's go back to this particular article. Okay, at the micro level, which is the following 4-hour chart, we can see that the Bitcoin so far holds the supporting blue line, as mentioned 2 days ago. The 89 to 9,000 support level is the most crucial in the short term. So let's switch down to this particular thing, and you can see that this is the 4-hour chart, and there's a lot going on, I won't lie, right? So if you look at this stuff right over here where my mouse is kind of following, that's the price of Bitcoin in the 4-hour segment that they have looked at. Now down here you will see that this is the RSI, which basically measures whether the stock is sort of overbought or oversold, right? And then here you have the sort of the trend lines that are happening. So there's a lot happening here. We have the 50-day and the 200-day moving averages. That's these lines over here. Then there's the sort of analysis of the lows. You kind of see how it has this almost like a floor level that it hits and it bounces off of. And then you see different sort of key support and resistance levels. And when it comes to the trading, of course, we know that whenever a stock or any actually asset whatsoever, when it has a floor and it keeps on hitting it, that's basically the resistance. Now, once it actually goes down, right, it goes through the floor, literally speaking, there's a different level of resistance underneath it. But oftentimes what will happen when it tries to go back up, it might hit what was previously a support that becomes a ceiling and it hits it. And so if it goes through that, then typically that is a signal that it might go higher to the next sort of the key resistance level, or if it's hitting the brand new highs, there's no resistance. So obviously at that point, we're very much in a clear bull market, or somebody's trying to pump it. So that's kind of how that works. That's what this over here is. And this is what they're talking about in this particular component, where you can see it's kind of tiny. I get it, that it's talking about the sort of the level. Now, earlier, they were talking about the sorry, the macro level, the weekly candle, as we can be seen on the following chart, touched the long-term descending line, which started forming since 2017, and the current candle close is likely to take place below the supporting ascending trend line, which started forming in 2015. And you can kind of see some of that stuff happening right over here. And you can see that some of these supporting levels are in the 5,000, 4,000 to 5,000 level. So that's a pretty big drop if it actually ends up going all the way down there. The weekly close, Sunday midnight, was above 9,400, which is critical for the bulls. And but I have been saying that we have been flirting between 9,800 to 8,800 and kind of going back and forth. And it's definitely been sort of a little bit of a sideways movement. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this stuff continuing on. And you can see that the critical level is 89 to 9,000 region. And in the case of a breakdown, they're basically saying the next level of support is at 8650, and then further down would be 83 to 8400, which also includes the significant 200 and 100-day moving average lines, which are basically marked on these charts. So this is one of those things to kind of pay attention to. They're basically saying that the major area of resistance is around 9200. Above that is 9320. And then is 9400 yet again. So interesting piece for sure to kind of take a look at what's going on and what's been happening. And one of the interesting pieces, in order to kind of continue whether there will be a bull run in the Bitcoin and how it all might play out, we're going to switch to a slightly different report. But before we do that, a little bit of coffee. Wrong pipe. Sorry, y'all. Again, the gift from my late mother. Thanks, Mom. It used to drive me nuts when I used to choke on air or coffee and stuff. She was very well known for doing those things on regular basis. and it used to drive me nuts when I would have the same thing happen. Since mom passed, it kind of, I don't know, in a very weird way makes me sort of closer to her. So there goes that. Okay, so let's get back to the news. Enough about my silly stories. Here's what Bitcoin bull run will begin soon, and this is coming out of brand new article, as you can see. Now, Bitcoin, like stocks, goes through cycles in the market, right? We already understand that not just Bitcoin and stocks, but this is also happening in real estate and economy and business. There's all these different cycles. Life on its own is nothing more but a collaboration or compilation of cycles. We have up times, down times, seasons, our lives. We have days where everything goes our way, regardless of how amazing or not amazing we are, how prepared or not prepared we are. It's sort of like a stroke of good luck almost that shows up in our lives, that everything goes our way, right? Like everything you touch turns to gold. And then we have days and seasons where it doesn't matter how prepared you are, it doesn't matter how ready you are, nothing goes your way, right? And I don't know, maybe that's not your case, but that is definitely my case where I experienced that in life. And so I want to make sure that we all understand that this is definitely happening everywhere. So far, Bitcoin has undergone three cycles, three bull runs, three bear runs. However, the fourth bull run seems to be on the verge of taking flight, and there seems to be something interesting happening. The cycles are lengthening; they're getting longer, and it's interesting when I looked at this particular piece, because this was something that I was actually noticing on my own, and I've done recently. It's been posted on YouTube, so if you haven't seen it, definitely take a look at it. I want to say it was posted maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was my sort of conversation from January or February of this year, maybe January, that I recorded, that I posted for my students about Bitcoin and the halvening and kind of how it all works. And I have sort of done the analysis of noticing that this trend is very interesting. That as we go through the sort of the bull and the bear, and then bull and the bear and the bull and the bear, you will see very clearly. This is why charts are so amazing, because you can see it very clearly that it is lengthening in size. And so where people are like, oh yeah, we tend to think linearly, and people are saying, oh, yeah, well, last time it took 18 months, so this time it's going to take 18 months. And I'm saying, I don't know about that. I think it's going to get longer. And part of it is, obviously you try to sort of semi-intelligently predict where things may go and how it's going to work out. And none of this stuff, when you're forecasting, is not guaranteed. It's not 100% certain. It's sort of like it's more of a probability of what might happen. And you can definitely take a look right over here and notice that things are definitely much, much lengthier. So, even here, they're basically saying we won't see the top until summer to fall of 2022, right? So we have time when it comes to the crypto, when it comes to Bitcoin, to get ourselves into the position, because we're still in the sort of lower piece of it. And you can see kind of how it has these cup formations, then it goes up, drops. You have this cup formation, goes up, drops, cup formation. Look how beautiful this one is. Goes up, drops. And we're going to see another one, I think. And, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we look and see that there's going to be some sort of top happening in summer to fall. So it's going to be, we're looking at, about 24 months plus minus. It might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more, but I do think it is coming. So something for you to pay attention to. Don't expect that this is going to be an overnight thing, but do expect that when more people start coming in, we might get much more volatile movements. So, um, the first cycle spanned 400 days, second cycle about 1150, third cycle 1450, right? And so now we're saying, well, yeah, it's very possible that the next cycle is going to be way more than 400, or 1000 days, or even 1500 days. It might be much, much longer than that, right? While it is growing as far as the from bottom to top, in number of days, you also notice something interesting, that it goes from 400 to 1150 to 1450, which means the rate of change is shrinking, right? So that's another piece to also pay attention to in your own sort of evaluations and calculations. In each cycle, the price has stayed below the line connecting the bottom to the previous cycle to the top of the next cycle. And you can kind of see they did this piece right here, and then bottom right to the top, bottom to the top, and they're saying, well, this was the bottom right over here, and they're saying it's going to go to the top here, which means that this time around it didn't stay below. So potentially, if the below is truly the case, my argument, looking at this chart as we see it right now, is that it might look something like this, where it might go this way, touch on this, which makes this a bit more pronounced. And if that is the case, you can see that, if that ends up playing out, and this is a very crude way to look at it right now because you're just trying to follow my mouse, that we're looking at much higher prices than what they're talking about here in this article. And what are they talking in the article as far as the prices? And they're saying, well, as reported in previous article, this dotted curve will connect to the peak of the next cycle, one that prices Bitcoin at $118,000 per Bitcoin. Well, if that's the case up here, and I'm saying potentially can go up here, I don't know. Hold on. If that's the case, let's take a look. I am, sorry, I'm doing this. I'm like weirdishly close to the camera because I'm trying to see it super tiny. Uh, I don't know, y'all, because I look at this stuff, and if the my little thing, which is super inaccurate, it almost could be 2.5x of what they're talking about here. So even at the 118, I mean that's insane pricing, because if you take a look at it, that today we're at 9,000 and we're saying it's going to go to 100, that's well over 10x. Which is beyond exciting to me. But again, keep in mind, it's speculation. This is not guarantee. This is just an analysis of what potentially could happen, looking at the historic and sort of trying to forecast, because we're also forecasting this to happen 24 months from now. So, I mean, everybody's crystal ball, I don't think anybody has it, right? We can just all guess. Now, here's another piece they're talking about. Willy Woo, a prominent Bitcoin enthusiast, shared his own model for Bitcoin price charts, one that also confirmed that the bull run may be about to start. And it's not showing it over here, but, I do want to point this out, and then we're going to switch it because there is that but. I did go in, research, and I have found that Twitter thing that we're going to jump and take a look right now. At the press time, however, the price of Bitcoin had dropped from 95 to 91.50, and right now it's at 90.90, right? It was moving sideways. Bearish in the short term, it's extremely bullish long term. Now, switching over here, and here we go. Here is the analyst, Willy Woo. That's a fantastic name, by the way. Willy Woo. So here is this infamous Twitter that was shared, and it's basically saying this is a new model I'm working on. It picks the start of exponential bull runs. Bitcoin was setting up for bullish runs until the COVID, while Swan killed the party. This model suggests that we are close to another bullish run, maybe another month or so. And I don't know. Can I take a look at this stuff? So I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to see. Let's take a look at the article, and then we might be able to see it. Now, he's saying that the bull market delay brought about the pandemic will turn out to be a welcome development for the largest cryptocurrency. He says that the long base building process is serving as rocket fuel for BTC. The longer this bull market takes to wind up, the higher the peak price. Okay, the top cat model. A long sideways accumulation band is ultimately a good thing. And I agree with him on this particular component for sure. The reason that I agree to it is because, history always shows us when things kind of coil up, and we talked about this yesterday. The more it gets suppressed, the more coiled up, the more explosive it ends up being, because it builds up all this energy, and then when it moves, I mean, it really moves. Okay, so let's go in and let's take a look at that Twitter piece. And you can kind of see that there is this analysis. This is 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020. And that's basically what he's talking about. And here we go. We can take a look at this chart in a much larger piece. So this is the price. Okay. This is the volume. And he's basically saying, hey, this is the next bullish move right over here, which he says it might be coming in about a month. And now it's end of June. So end of July, beginning of August is what it sounds like he is talking about and predicting. Again, not guaranteed, just what one of the analysts is talking about that I wanted to share with you. I'm going to have a sip of coffee while you take a look at this chart, and then we're going to continue. I have to be very careful with my coffee sipping so that I don't end up choking yet again. So Bitcoin price models, this is another sort of Bitcoin price model where you can see kind of how it moves. You can see the cyclical, you can see the sort of gentle U, sometimes called the cup formation, which allows for for that sort of explosive growth on up. We're seeing that we're kind of, hitting that over here. You can see that we're following within the channels rather nicely. Now we're at the bottom of the channel, which is normal for that accumulation stage. And we have a potential to go up. But again, with everything that you trade, everything that you buy, everything that is speculative, there is a potential that it could go down. Other analysts are not being on a big BTC turnaround anytime soon, as the King coin struggles to stay above psychological support at 9,000. The trader Nebraskan Gooner believes Bitcoin had already printed at local top and is headed for more pain in the near term as the cryptocurrency follows a tried and tested sell-off script known as the Wyckoff distribution schematic. And let me see again if we could open this up in the new, in the new window. And let's take a look. So basically, he's saying that, there is all of this stuff happening. So let's take a look and analyze, right? So you can see the price. There is different analysis pieces, and he's basically saying, look, there's the red chart down, or the red arrow down, and I think that this might go down. It might continue to trade on in a downward portion. We have another red arrow right over here. And this is probably the first one, because if you paid attention in the previous one, I'll go back to it and show it to you. There was another sort of red arrow that happened right below this one. And he's also looking at the volume down here, noticing that it kind of picks up, and we're seeing volume is staying, relatively speaking, low. So remember how we looked at this one? Let's take a look at this one and see. This is the first one. This is the second one, which is actually pushing on downward. So very interesting component, and something definitely to pay attention to. Now, there's another trader, Pentoshi, tells his 1,500 Twitter followers that Bitcoin uptrend since March is now over, as the most dominant cryptocurrency flashes multiple bearish signals. Bitcoin trend is your friend. It's been sideways for 58 days, made a macro lower high at the 3-year downtrend line, now making micro lower highs. This new trend is there. If you the new trend is there. Is you spot it? Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna try. Anyways, here is the sort of chart to see that it kind of has gone up, and it has been going sideways, but you can see that it's definitely slowing down in volatility, in price, and it's definitely shrinking, which goes back to that first and original chart that we talked about, that triangle pattern that I have been expecting, that it's going to get smaller and smaller. that it does have to go down and up a little bit before it almost flatlines, and then we're going to see explosive moves. So I know that these gentlemen, and I'm going to presume they're gentlemen based off of the names because it could be a lady that is just sort of using a pseudonym. And if that's the case, then hey, awesome. But anyways, these analysts are talking about and the traders are talking about that we could see potentially, moves, and I think that they might be looking at something closer because of the trading component. I tend to be more on the long-term buy and hold kind of thing within this stuff. I don't tend to trade much or any at all, and that's sort of the uh, uh, kind of how I look at it, and I do expect that we're going to down back into the 8,000s. We've already been a little bit, I want to say yesterday, kind of hit it. I want to say we were at 80 something. I could be wrong. And, we're going to go back up to 9 something. And at some point, it's going to flatline right around low 9, high 8. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then we'll see. Then it's going to go up and shoot on up, or it's going to go down and it's going to shoot on down. So something to pay attention to. And only time will tell which one will happen and whether some of my predictions are right. Again, not financial advice, not guaranteed. It's just analysis and probabilities. And now, final piece that I want to take a look into is Ethereum network and what's going on. So this is powered by Into the Block and delivered to us by CoinMarketCap. So, Ethereum network activity has increased steadily throughout the year. Now, of course, that's the truth. And recently, it's surpassed a major level of transactions that it hadn't been reached since January 2018. We're switching basically excuse me, from Bitcoin over to Ethereum and talking about this. Basically, the second top cryptocurrency that exists within this brand new asset class world ecosystem. Now, there are many, we already talked about that many of the altcoins, stable coins, things that you're seeing, decentralized finance, and all of that stuff rides on top of Ethereum. Okay, so that's important piece as we start talking about these things. One of the top tokens has recently moved is Chainlink. And that's going to be an interesting piece to take a look at. Now, Ethereum daily transactions surpass 1 million. This is key. This is important. Last time we saw this obviously was 2018. It was slightly before it, but we didn't have all of these projects that were happening on Ethereum, right? People were just sort of buying it. The ICOs are what pushed the market. Now we actually have cases for the stuff. We have things that are developing, things that are working. They're still young, they're still new, they're still testing and tweaking and still ways to go, ways to grow, as they say. But it is important piece to pay attention to. Ethereum has had a very positive year with the value of ETH increasing 88% year to date. That's a pretty darn good return if you ask me. The decent DeFi rally has been raising the demand to use Ethereum blockchain. In response to this increase in demand, Ethereum miners are increasing gas limit by 25%, and you can kind of see it right over here. Now, the gas is basically what they use to power the smart contracts and basically have an ability to expand the size of the block. So, contrary to Bitcoin, which has a fixed block size, Ethereum block size varies according to the block gas limit set collectively by miners. Increasing the gas limit allows the Ethereum blockchain to process more transactions per second. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on. Now, the gas limit is managed to decrease the gas cost. This is very important because we've noticed that the gas is basically the price that you pay in order to run and operate certain operations within smart contracts. So it's kind of funny that it uses gas, but that's what it is. And different calculations and different computations use different amounts of gas, and gas is then sort of kind of hit on to the Bitcoin price. And so as the gas limit increases, right, the bandwidth increases, the price of it decreases. Supply and demand makes perfect sense to me and anybody who understands this stuff. And you can see that the number of transactions, right? Then you have the light blue, which is this line right over here, is number of transactions, and the price of ETH, which is this sort of dark blue, black color that you want to take a look, is, this is the kind of bottom. And you can see that we're almost right back to where we were in 2018. We haven't seen the top component, right? They're still there, but you can see that it's sort of decoupling. That tells me one of two key things. When I look at this stuff right over here, I'm going to leave the chart so you can look at it while I'm talking. That tells me one of key things. Just like in the stock market, when I talk about the economy and the stock market and how they're not connected, and at some point they have to connect, that means that the stock market has to drop or economy has to go up severely, or a combination of two has to happen, right? And it's much quicker for the market to drop than the economy to go up. Same thing over here. When I look at this stuff, I look at it and say, well, you know, if this is the case, if they run simultaneously most of the time and they kind of decoupled here in 2018ish, right, and the number of transaction is going up, but the price is kind of sideways and downish, there's one of two things that has to happen. The utilization of it has to go down, or the price has to go up, or combination of the two. And if so many people and so many projects are being built on the Ethereum blockchain and it's being utilized, the probability of utilization of it going down is much lower than the probability and the potential of the price going up. So in an explosive move of which one is going to go, I do expect that the price is actually going to go up to meet what's happening, the demand of what's happening within the network. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I see it. Now, of course, we could see utilization potential going down, but more and more people are building these DeFi projects on Ethereum blockchain and utilizing it. And so with that, I actually see that this utilization is actually going to go even further up, which then even more gives me sort of this bullish sentiment that Ethereum is going to go through the roof. That's just, again, not a financial advice. It's just the way that I'm thinking through this out loud here with you. The last time Ethereum daily transactions surpassed 1 million, ETH price was at $1,033, over 4 times the current value. The current increase in transaction appears to be led by network usage from smart contracts deployed on top of Ethereum blockchain. Major protocols using Ethereum already have a working product generating cash flows. Total value locked in DeFi, decentralized finance, smart contracts surpassing 1.5 billion as per DeFi Pulse. There's a growing optimism that the value accrued by these protocols will increase demand for ETH and make it scarcer. One growing trend leading Ethereum adoption is the so-called yield farming, which we talked about here, a process that enables a user of centralized application to be rewarded with tokens and yield on top of liquidity supply to dApp. Yield farm, one of the popular yield farms is Compound, which saw explosive growth, and we just covered Compound for a reason today when you saw the price that it did actually come down. But one of the things to keep in mind is that it did, when it first kind of listed, it was at about $80, then it hit over $100, then it kind of rose up to, I want to say $330. Now it's about $230. So it has dropped down from the top, but it's still kind of rising, and people basically going in using Compound, staking stuff, borrowing stuff, lending stuff, in order to receive the comp tokens, and we're able to make pretty darn nice returns. My understanding was it was a 90% return. That is an insane return, and of course people were doing it, but it became a bit more speculative. It came down, and we'll see kind of how it's going to progress. Now, while there are similarities between the recent DeFi hype and the ICO bubble, major difference on-chain patterns point to actual value being created this time around. Like last time, it was really ICOs, right? You would list a coin, everybody would sort of jump in and buy it. All of it is off of the white paper. It might have worked, it might not have worked. Nobody had a working prototype in it. It was just a matter of writing a paper, and you put it in, and people were buying it. Now it's different. These are not just ICOs. These are actual projects that are doing stuff, that are performing, and people are using them for real life case basis. So that's something to pay attention. That's the big difference. Now, aside from comp, another ERC20 token has been a must watch for people in the crypto space has been Chainlink's native token Link. Chainlink has developed a large community of followers known as Chainlink Marines. It was China's blockchain service network that announced their integration of Chainlink's Oracle services. The BSN aspires to provide a blockchain infrastructure that offers cheap and accessible decentralized services worldwide. By using Chainlink's Oracle, companies integrate with decentralized solution that brings credible external data on chain. Chainlink theoretically increases demand for its native Link token, which is used as a utility token that facilitates the usage of Oracle smart contracts. By creating Chainlink request, a user sends an on-chain transaction by an Oracle contract, transferring Link along with the data representing the user's request. Once this request has been received, Chainlink performs the work on the request, returns the desired off-chain data to the Oracle contract. The Oracle contract updates the Link balance to pay the node operator and returns the results to the consumer contract. So this is kind of what the process looks like, right? So you can see it right over here. Coffee. Now, given the Chainlink integration requires Link usage, Chainlink Marines tend to anticipate price growth following partnership news. Along with sentiment, Link managed to reach $4.80 for the first time since early March. And that's very interesting and very, very good. The BSN co-founder Yifan He stated that one of the main reasons that they decided to integrate with Chainlink is that they saw that they have the best community. Okay, so there you go. That's kind of what's going on and happening. So this is beyond exciting to me and very, very cool piece to pay attention to and, look at and consider. This is going to cap it for today, and I appreciate you watching. Again, now we're going to go into everybody who is watching live this on onedealaway.com. We're going to chat. We're going to interact. We're going to answer questions. And if you are not here live today, which I understand it is early morning, that's okay. You are watching probably a replay on YouTube. If that is the case, do me a favor, smash that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, make sure you join me tomorrow at 7 a.m. only on onedealaway.com/live. Until next time, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.